So again, it's my belief, and that of many others, especially those who know a lot more about the pyramids and this part of Egypt that I do, or than I do, that this was an inheritance from a much older culture, long before the pharaohs, and that they were built as pragmatic power stations, not as tombs. It is believed from this philosophy that in fact these are the oldest of the pyramids, the ones which are stone and encased in stone, and much later, or later at least, are the ones made out of mud brick. So the conventional belief, again, is that the one we will visit next at Saqqara, that was an early experiment because it's a step pyramid, and that through the perfection over the course of only a couple or a few hundred years that they reached this potential. But the more intriguing idea is that it's the complete opposite, that the greatest and finest craftsmanship of the stone pyramids was first, but done by a civilization long before the pharaonic Egyptians, and then later, once that civilization had disappeared, possibly via a cataclysm, the pharaonic Egyptians show up, you see these magnificent structures, and they attempt to replicate them, but they can never match the quality of the workmanship because they didn't have the tools.
Okay, we're at the site of Dashur, which was the southern border, what we call Land of Osiris, and it features 3 pyramids here. 2 are ancient, 1 is not. This one here is the so-called bent pyramid. It supposedly was a mistake. We don't believe there were any mistakes. It has two angles, one that starts out at 55 that ends at 41, and supposedly they say that this was a mistake and the king didn't want this and then had the other pyramid built. But 1968, Marshall McLuhan came here, Canadian, wrote the book The Medium is the Message. He looked at this pyramid and says it produces 2 frequencies of sound. And he was the first one to come into the ancient understanding. The title of this site supposedly was a king's title, Seneferu. The Egyptologists say that means he of beauty. No, we say it means double harmony. It was not a person's name or even a title. It could be a title to the site. It could be just this pyramid, which produces 2 frequencies of sound, or this pyramid and the so-called red pyramid, which we'll see later, that produce another frequency of sound. That this was an active living site. Where you're actually filming now, you can see sand dunes. There's silt in there. We have collected soil samples. There's still silt in there from ancient. Does a 0 rainfall here per year, so it's not from modern rainfall. It has to be from the ancient river. We found evidence there that there were great limestone walls, like an aqueduct that brought water from the west to this site. This was an active site. There was temples here, and when we go to the other pyramid, you'll see docks where boats used to come. So this site was over 12,000 years old. Now the 3rd pyramid that's down there is a so-called black pyramid. That is mostly mud brick, collapsed. We know it is a Middle Kingdom construction, about 1800 BCE, associated with 2 kings. It's not sure who it was. One is Amenemhat II, another Senusert. But we know for sure that it's what we call a symbolic per-ka, a symbolic tomb. No one was ever buried in there, but there's no resonance, no sound. So there's no way this structure is built right after this structure, and it's the same type of technology. It's thousands and thousands of years of difference. This such structure is over 12,000 years. This is 1800 BCE. And it's collapsed, mostly mud brick with very little limestone. So there's water still going through this site. This was an active site bringing water in for energy to the pyramids. We see evidence of aqueducts. We'll show you docks, and Yusuf will show us around the corner where the water's still coming in.
Again, one of the keys, it seems, to the bent pyramid is the fact that it still has the limestone casing on it, more so than many other pyramids, and the fact that it's the corners. All 4 corners are damaged. Now, of course, people are going to say that's where the plundering for building materials from later times came from, but there's a very good chance that what it's indicative of is damage to the pyramid as the result of a massive earthquake, causing the 4 corners to crumble more so than the facing of the sides. I'm not a earthquake expert, but it makes sense to me that if you have energy running along a flat surface such as this, where it meets a corner, that's going to be a place of destabilization. And so it's quite clear, I think, that that here we're looking at a massive, ancient, very ancient pre-pharaonic construction that had a pragmatic function, that of an energy generator, as were the pyramids on the Giza Plateau, and that a major event, catastrophic, planetary in scale, happened about 12,000 years ago, causing major damage to this structure and others, and therefore turning off the function of the power plant. It's believed that they were fed by water, not from the Nile, which is here, but from the earlier Nile, which was west of the present-day Nile. And that is why there is a profusion of tunnel systems running from the west towards the east, that the water entered the pyramid underneath, and that there was a process by which water was broken into its components of hydrogen and oxygen, and the hydrogen is what was used to generate the power. And what level of power? Some say microwave, some say many different levels of and functions of the power itself.